Hey everybody, this is Javier Balderramos. This is Planet Texas Podcast. I have Geoffrey Giuliano. You may know Geoffrey Giuliano from the television show on Netflix called Squid Games. You may know him in a zombie flick called Peninsula, which is from Train to Busan. Or you may even know him as Ronald McDonald from the
Oh,
1980s.
damn.
How
I
are you
can't
doing?
outrun that one.
No, you
Well, but
can.
they might also know me from Scorpion King 3. What other American movies? Mechanic Resurrection with Tommy Lee Jones and Jason Statham. I think those are the big, that's kind of most of it. I've done a lot of smaller films. I made 48 films. I did quite a few in India, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and a whole bunch in Bangkok, which is where I am now.
So the other movies that I have here for you is you did Hard Target 2, you did Lupin, you were in the movie Kate. You have
Yes,
a
I
lot.
was. Wait, let me just say about Kate. Kate was with Woody Harrelson, and he's a good guy. See, I have to say something about. I think people may have some interest in this. A whole lot of things have to happen for people to become movie stars, and they kind of have to happen all at once or fall into order like a perfect storm to turn a guy into Woody Harrelson or Patrick Stewart or Vinnie Jones or Tommy Lee Jones, the people that I've worked with. How come not me? It's just so many things that have to fall into place at the right time. I thought for all those years that I was training to be an actor, and I have a master's degree, and I did Shakespeare in the Park in the 70s. I'm 71. Let's get that out of the way. And I worked so hard, community theater, and worked at a TV station in Toronto for 5 years for free, doing the weather and playing Santa Claus and whatever they wanted. Eventually, they paid me $250 a day. Huge amount of money back then. So I did everything I was supposed to do. But the one thing I didn't do that kind of everybody else did was I didn't go to Hollywood when I was 22, 23. Because I had a girlfriend from college and we got married and we had a kid unexpectedly, I think, if I can recall. And then later, 3 more. So I was a family man with no money living in up Western New York, near Rochester, going to a university, State University of New York at Brockport. And so I don't know why, because I've been all over the world, but I had in those early years, some reservations about going to Hollywood. I don't know why. And I believe that if I had, that I would have, hope that's not for me. Just keep going, folks. We know how it is in this world now. I have so many phones, I can't turn them all off. I have to run all over the room. I have like 5 phones. Hey, could you turn that phone off? Oh, sorry, my daughter just walked in. So I believe if I had gone to Hollywood, then indeed, turn that down over there.
No, it's not that. Hold on.
Okay, just find out where it is and hit it with a hammer. So I probably would have made it like those guys. As it is, I made my first movie when I was something like 53, which was for the Hallmark Channel with the soccer player Vinnie Jones and Patrick Stewart. And that was my first, we call them shows. We don't call them movies. First show that I did. And but I had done so much before that, like write all those books. But let me tell you a Patrick Stewart story while we're here with him. You know, Jean-Luc Picard from Star Trek. We were all invited to, a lot of people, I don't drink, but a lot of people do. And on movie sets, I think because you have to be so disciplined during the day and everything is military time. You can't be 1 minute late. You got to know what you're doing. And where your mark is and where the lights are and where the mic is, and don't move your head too much or you'll be out of frame. All those things, it's hard work, very concentrated work. So I think a lot of guys and gals, they drink, have a drink after work. Well, I never drank alcohol in my life, except one thing, a champagne in London many years ago at some kind of party where I felt I should take a couple of sips and then put it down. Patrick Stewart had invited everyone to dinner. And of course, the English, to my experience, they drink a little more than maybe other people do. So he said to me, "Geoffrey, I hear you're a vegetarian. Is that right?" I said, "Yes, Mr. Stewart, I'm a vegetarian." "I see. Do you feel you're morally superior to others?" "Well, no, nothing like that at all, Mr. Stewart. Absolutely not." Nobody on that. I was going to swear that. Am I allowed to swear in this thing? Better not to, right?
Hey, no matter. We'll
What's
take
the
care
rule
of
on swearing, officer?
Go ahead. You can swear if you want.
The moment is past. So anyway, look, no one talked to me on that movie set after that. I was like a pariah. And it was because I guess they figured Patrick Stewart didn't like me. Now, I didn't do anything. But I learned a great lesson there about movie sets. Whenever they invite you to dinner, make an excuse. Don't go. Because people, I guess, I hear, I don't know, I wouldn't have any personal knowledge, but sometimes some people are mean drunks. And some people, I'm not saying that people are drunk, but, some people get mean, some people get loving, some people whatever. So I don't want to be in the line of fire for that because it affected the rest of the movie. Even the director, who used to sit in a lounge area after work, and I'd have a Coke and they'd be drinking, but I was sitting right next to him and he used to engage and talk to me, wouldn't say a word to me, not a word. So it was really, and that was my first movie, and I had a big part. It was, what was the name of the movie? And this is always the Alzheimer moment here. It was Jules Verne's The Mysterious Island. And I had a big part. And so now to this day, every time I do a movie, someone will say, "Hey, let's go to the bar." A lot of times you stay in a hotel together. "Come on, I'll see you down in the bar." "Oh man, I'd love to, but I got to go over my lines. I got to call my kids. I got to speak to I make any excuse. So that's something that I learned the hard way. That and of all people, because I was, I feel so great about Patrick Stewart and someone that I really looked up to, but I don't know why he said that, but it caused a problem. So Al Pacino and these guys are older than me, about maybe 10 years older than me, but I'm still kind of from that generation as I'm 71 now. It could have been different, and it's a completely different thing being an actor and being a movie star. Oh, I've made 50 movies, all right, but the lifestyle, none of it's the same. I have another business. I'm an audiobook publisher and narrator, and I sell high-level rock memorabilia to very rich people all around the world. But if I had to depend on acting for my big family, we'd be living in the street somewhere. So I didn't make the right moves as a young guy, and I had every opportunity. I knew I wanted to be an actor. I was good looking then. Everybody gets that great kiss from God to be good looking for a few years. So I had all that, the six pack, probably hair down to here in those days. And I just didn't want to leave my wife, or I don't know what that, I had a baby. So anyway, it never happened. And you try to pick up on it later, and it doesn't really work the same, because there's those moments in your life when you should go a direction, and if you don't listen to that inner voice, there's a line in No Country for Old Men where Tommy Lee Jones is talking to his cousin, and Tommy Lee Jones asked this guy a question about getting shot, and what did he do about it? And he said, well, he said, in life, when you lose things, sometimes it's just best to put a tourniquet on it rather than try to run around and collect the things that you lost. So I believe that to be absolutely true. So I understand that I have the career that I was meant to have and that I'm enjoying. Every time I make a movie, my friend, I didn't push OK on recorded.
I'm
Every
recording.
time I make a, I hope that doesn't affect, does that affect anything?
No, no, you're good, boss.
All right, okay. So every time I make a movie, I have this kind of paranoid, oh shit, this is going to be the last time anybody hires me. It is so difficult to get in movies. It's like, I mean, who doesn't want to be in a movie? And, you know, I'm known as a guy that can do dialogue, which is like a kind of a rare thing or something that, you know, okay, in my day, actors were trained and they don't seem to be trained now. They seem to just think, not think, but or proclaim, I'm an actor. This is what I'm going to do. And they don't have the training. I did Shakespeare and all that. So I can handle long dialogue without forgetting my lines. And a lot of actors cannot do that, like a lot of young or modern actors. So I'm hired quite a bit because I think people in the industry know, well, Geoffrey can handle dialogue. As you can see, I have a big mouth. And so that has taken me some ways. I did my first film in 2006. I'd done theater for years and TV some, but the first movie was that Jules Verne's The Mysterious Island with Vinnie Jones and Patrick Stewart. And I didn't know anything about the camera. You know, there's so many things you have to know. Like I had a few close-ups, more than a few. And the DOP, which is director of photography, American guy, said, Geoffrey, come here, I want to talk to you. Yeah? Listen, man, stop moving your head so much. Why? Well, you'll be out of frame. You'd be out of frame. And like we're on a tight schedule. And if you keep bobbing around like that, the director's going to say, moving on. And then you're not going to have your close-up. So just think of it like this. The camera is, you're acting in a box. And you can only move a little bit. I'll tell you, I don't move nothing now. I don't know. You know, one of the things I learned later on, that's I've done almost, I think it's 48 movies I've done, is that when that camera picks up everything, just everything, my friend. And any little tiny movement of the eye or the nostril or anything is just, boom, it's on that big screen. Or maybe at home now or your phone. People don't go to the movies too much anymore. But I have learned to like what they call bring it down. So if you watch No Country for Old Men, Tommy Lee Jones, who I greatly respect, doesn't do anything. And he would agree with me if he was here. They just, somebody talks, they listen. And they have to repeat something, say something back, they'll say it. And they won't really do too much. This kind of, let me take my glasses off. I never take my glasses off anymore, but I will. So, you know, and even Robert De Niro, if you go to the Google, folks, and you put in, I don't know if people are interested in this. If you want to be an actor or you are an actor, I'm sure you might be. But I don't know about other folks. Listen, if you go to Google and you put in Robert De Niro's best acting advice, this is what he says. He says, don't do anything. I know they gave you a lot of money. I know you're excited. I know it's a big thing in your life, but don't do anything. Just listen and then say your line. And if you have to do something like something extraordinary, someone's killing you or shot your wife or something, and it's that kind of big emotion is called for, okay, but still it has to be very confined, very restricted. There was an actor many years ago called Fred McMurray who did My Three Sons, which some of you will be familiar with. Someone asked him what, he was having his breakfast. Someone asked him, what is acting? And he picked up some toast. He didn't answer, and he buttered it, and he cut it in half, and he put some jelly on it, and then he put it on the plate, and he put his knife down. He said, that's acting. So, and John Wayne said, it's not acting, it's reacting. Go ahead.
No, I was kind of giggly when you said that.
Yeah, so it's like you don't, all those years of theater training, where we were taught to be or not to be, you know, all that kind of big stuff that we were taught in theater. You got to throw all of it out. And having been trained as a theatrical actor was a huge deficit for me. I mean, I had to unlearn and work with that camera that's just right up your ass. And it's just looking at your eyes. Michael Caine's big on this too. He says, you know, like when you move your eyes just a little bit. They see everything about the character. It's not what you say so much as what you do or you don't do. So it's an economy. It's an economy of movement and of thought. And it's not really like real life. It's more of a very sophisticated children's game because everybody is a child. So I want to be the soldier. I want to be the policeman. All right, I'll be the army, whatever it is you're playing. I did that. And now we're doing it with $1 million infrastructure or more than $1 million infrastructure if you make a big movie. In fact, I think most movies are like $10 million is the budget now. So you're doing it's a big deal. There's money to be made. There's money to be lost. I remember being late 1 or 2 minutes for the van to pick me up. And that producer took me aside. It was actually that same first movie I did. He said, listen, who do you think you are? What? He said, well, you're 2 minutes late, man. All these people have been waiting for you. And at the time I thought, well, this guy's a jerk. In fact, we had a few words, which I regret and cost me some work. But like, don't you talk to me like that stuff. But I know he's right. Because what you're not remembering is that if there's 3 people in the van to go to the set, there's already 150 people there that have been working for about 5 hours to get ready for you to arrive. So they're paying so many people that you can't screw up. You got to. It's military. I mean, you're a policeman. I'm sure you understand some of that behavior, you know. But I learned almost everything the hard way because I'm a wise guy, you know. And I had to learn to be humble, and I had to learn to be a team player because there's nothing in this world that's more of a team sport, more of a group activity than making a movie. All these different parts have to work together and fit. Lights and, you know, just everything you can think of, and people that you never see that are in the dressing room doing your clothes and I had a first assistant director once told me we were doing a take. It was that Hard Target 2, and he said, "Fluff and Puff." I thought, what the hell is Fluff and Puff? And all these makeup people came around me and like got sweat off my brow and combed my hair and, you know, did something under my chin and put something on my eyebrow. And that's Fluff and Puff. You know, I've never heard anyone say it, but I always see him and I call him Fluff and Puff, this guy. So it's a kind of you just can't believe what goes into it. And I'll give you an example of Tommy Lee Jones when we were making Mechanic Resurrection with Jason Statham. I'll tell you a story about him in a minute. Is some idiot featured extra. Featured extra is someone that's got a couple lines, throwaway lines. Canadian guy. I can't remember his name. I made a few movies with him. He left his cell phone on and the phone rang in the middle of a take. And Tommy Lee Jones just looked at him like death personified and said, "Are we here to work, young man, or are we here to talk on the cell phone?" So Jason Statham on the same movie, everybody knows him as the big guy who jumps off the building and grabs the rope and swings, and he doesn't do any of that shit. When he came, and I'll tell you, there's a reason they don't let them do that stuff, because they could get hurt. You know, if Jason Statham gets hurt, it's over. So I wonder about Tom Cruise. That's his. I have never seen any evidence that stars do their own stunts. In fact, there's the thing we say: if you don't see the guy's face, it's not him. If it's the back of the head, or it's the shoulder, it's the ear, If you don't see his face, it's not him. Jason Statham arrived on set, and following him were about, I think, 6 guys that were his body doubles. Same exact haircut, same everything, and they were incredibly precise in the way they all look like Jason Statham. And I came one day to the set, and he was on a hang glider, and he was supposed to be kind of, doing this and looking for the bad guy or whatever it was. He was on that glider, which was just attached to the ceiling in a studio. And there were mattresses underneath if he did fall, but he would never fall because he was strapped in, and he was just doing the close-up. And then the real hang glider thing, jumping off a mountain, was done by one of these 6 guys. So, it's a very, very expensive illusion. But I remember very few things from drama school. One is called the willing suspension of disbelief. What does that mean? It means that if you put Leonardo DiCaprio in a movie, it's difficult to believe he's the character because it's Leonardo DiCaprio or Robert De Niro or Al Pacino or Gene Hackman, who's 93, so you're not going to see him anymore. But if you're too famous, sometimes it doesn't work as well. And I'm a kind of guy that looks a little bit famous. Well, I am a little bit famous, but you know what I mean? It's like I look more famous than I do. So I get parts sometimes that they might have given to bigger stars because that willing suspension of disbelief that is required by the audience to get into the story. Oh, look, it's Meryl Streep. Now, you're supposed to think she's the president of the United States in the movie Looking Up. You're not supposed to think it's Meryl Streep. So that's a hurdle that they have. I'd like to have such a problem, to be a multimillionaire and get 40, 50 million, $100 million for a movie like Meryl Streep and these people do. But it makes it, the audience doesn't always buy it, So I will get jobs that maybe other celebrities were giving, not because I'm whatever, anything, but because I have a certain look and I'm able to, the audience is willing to go along with me, and maybe not so much with these famous people, unless they enjoy seeing their favorite stars, which they do. In other words, when you go see Mission Impossible, you go to see Tom Cruise. It's okay then. But if you're doing some real heavy drama, it's going to take away. Now, this may be a record. You haven't asked a single question, but that did not hold me back at all.
All right.
How long did I do there? About 10 minutes?
Well, I don't even know. We're just going and going.
All right. Why don't you ask me a question, man? I could go on, but I don't, I'm an actor. That doesn't mean I'm a show-off. I don't want to, especially in Texas, I want to try to be cool.
So one of your highlights of your career is you did the Beatles celebration.
Oh, being an author, yeah.
That's one of the highlights that I have here is you were the director, you were the writer.
That book went all around the world. Let me tell people about that. My books are still everywhere. If you put my name into Amazon or Audible, you'll just like, holy crap, this guy's done a lot of work. I'm an overachiever. In fact, one time my daughter came to me and said, you're an addict. So what do you mean? What do you mean by that? Well, you're a work addict. You avoid interactions with your family. How many times have you not gone to the science fair, and said, oh, no, I can't go. Here's $100. Have your mother take you. I got to do this, whatever it was. And of course, that's true. I must have some kind of addictive personality. But hey, if you have to be an addict, being addicted to making shit happen, it could be worse, So I made a movie with Sylvester Stallone. Yeah, not to be a name dropper. He said, the harder I work, the luckier I get. So I'm in a pretty lucky position right now. Now, this all started my public life in 1984. I had gone to, sorry, I guess I'll just leave that alone. I had gone to too much technology. We should only do one thing at a time. This damn technology intrudes on us all the time. I'm not a huge fan of the internet. I remember what it was like before. to go to the post office and send a letter and see one of your buddies and say, hi, how are you, ma'am? How are you today? Oh, or whatever it was, or go to Waffle House, and you got to be connected at all times. So it's not enough that you and I are talking around the world like we're in the same room, but all these other applications have to at the same time. Okay, that's another story. In 1984, I'll admit it, I had been playing Ronald McDonald in the TV commercials.
All right, it's all right.
They found out I was a vegetarian, and I'm not just a vegetarian. I'm like a real heavy duty, not crazy or creepy, but I have a strong opinion that people do not have the right to kill any animal, to eat that animal. Now, I'm sure in Texas this will go over great. But since we're speaking on a global platform, I've worked with PETA. I've got the profile that the right doesn't like very much. So I had been let go from McDonald's and sued them for wrongful dismissal because in my personal life, I'm a vegetarian. What's that got to do with my job? It's not like I was shooting up heroin or something. I just didn't eat certain things on the menu. Anyway, I was fired. I sued them for wrongful dismissal. I won, but I didn't have a visa for Toronto, and that's where the head office was, in a very nice, beautiful, obviously, office building, skyscraper. And we didn't have any food in the refrigerator. And by that time I had 2 kids, and I looked out the window, and the neighbor, a nice, maybe Asian woman, heritage, was getting out of the car and with 2 big bags of groceries. And oh my, Brenda, you go to the door. It was so embarrassing. This guy can't feed his family. So I said, look, I have to do something. The neighbors are bringing groceries. The kids can't go to school because the visa's up. The work visa for McDonald's is up, and I'm from Buffalo, so it's like I'm not allowed to be here. The visa was going to run out in a couple of months, and then we'd made a whole life for ourselves in Toronto. So I said, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? This is now unbelievable and could never happen today. Couldn't happen then, but it would never happen today. I looked under P for publisher. That's what I knew about writing books, P for publisher. And I saw Matthew and Carswell Publications. I just could have been anybody. I called and I said, Matthew and Carswell, can I help you? Yes. I know a lot about the Beatles. In fact, I probably know more about the Beatles than almost anyone, and I have an incredible collection. And there was a pause. You do? Yes, ma'am, I do. One moment. And then there was like 5 minutes, and then, hello, Bill Hussein. I'm the CEO of the Canadian branch. Can I help you? Well, yeah, I was thinking maybe you'd want me to write a book about the Beatles. And they said, it's funny. We were just having an editorial meeting, and we were thinking about doing a Beatles book. And they said, can you come right over? So I got a suitcase, and I put like my best rarest Beatles stuff in there. And I went over there, and they gave me a contract for world rights for $30,000 when I had no money at all. And it just was, and it was with St. Martin's Press in America, Methuen in Canada, and Sidgwick and Jackson. I mean, now most people don't know, but those are all really big publishers, especially Sidgwick and Jackson in London has been there like 200 years or something. So it was a big contract, and I got $30,000, and this was 1983. And I don't know how much money that would be today, but it saved my ass. And people said to me, they said, so Geoffrey, you've never written a book before. Yeah, that's correct. So what are you going to do? I don't know. I've been thinking about it. Are you going to leave town? And I thought about that too, but maybe I'll give it a shot. Maybe I can do it. Well, long story short, I did it for 20 years. And the advances, I think the last advance I got was like $680,000. They told me I was in LA and I signed the contract and I said, I'd like to take the money back with me. This was in the 90s. And they said, oh, certainly, Mr. Giuliano, anything you want, sir. Because my books were very popular and making a lot of money for the publishers. And they sent me to what's called, I don't know this exists. I don't know who knows this exists, a private bank. Now, a private bank doesn't have a sign. It doesn't have anything. It's like a big building. There's a big security guy there with a clipboard. And you get out in front of this extremely nondescript building in LA somewhere and downtown. And the guy said, Mr. Giuliano? I said, yes. And my wife, Brenda, and I said, you come right in, sir. And they gave me, well, we can't give you the whole thing, but would $250,000 be enough? Well, that'll be fine. That'll be fine. And we'll transfer the rest to your account. And I had like a suitcase with 250 grand in it. Now, my son got a settlement, Devin, he got a settlement for a dog bite incident. And he had a whole bunch of money in his thing, and the ICE people took it at the airport. Because it was like, why do you have this money? Maybe, but in those days, you have the suitcase like in the movies with $250,000 in there. I remember that I called the swimming pool guy. I said, I think we'll get it. Oh, sorry, I moved to New York by this time. I'm away from this. Has moved on a little bit. And I bought a big mansion. This is what poor people do when they get a lot of money. I bought a big Victorian mansion. And I thought, we'll put a pool in. And I called the pool guy, and he was very skeptical because I always look like a hippie. And he said, this will cost her quite a bit of money. I said, well, how much? He said, about $60,000. What do you do? Because I didn't appear to do anything. I stayed home all day. I was writing. And he says, I said, well, let me give you a reference. And I gave him Penguin. I later wrote many, many books, 20 or 25, many books for Penguin USA in New York. And I said, well, here, you call Michael Fragnito and Penguin. And he came back the next day, and I said, well, what? Did you stop me?
Yeah, we got like 1 minute before we cut off.
He said, can I get the pool? He said, you can get anything you want. Because they told him about that $500,000 or whatever it is. Okay, what do you mean cut off? For section 1 or the whole thing?
No, just for the minute. Like, I'm going to go use the restroom. I'll come right back.
All right, okay. All right.
Yes, sir. I'll be right back in a few minutes. I'm going to cut off on that.
All right, brother.